Real Animation Story presents The Glass Dragon. The bazaar of Vera was alive with noise and color. Merchants shouting over one another, spices filling the air with sharp sweetness, and trinkets glimmering beneath the hot sun. To most, it was a marketplace. To Kale, it was opportunity. The boy moved like smoke through the crowd, thin, quick, and practiced in the art of going unseen. His dark cloak hid nimble hands that slipped through belts and pockets, lifting coins and jewels before their owners even noticed. Hunger drove him, not greed. For Kale, every stolen crust of bread or silver coin was another day alive. But that day, something different caught his eye. At the far edge of the bazaar, an old merchant sat at a lonely stall draped in faded blue cloth. Unlike the others, he didn't shout or wave. He simply sat, silent, as though waiting. And on his table, amidst dusty trinkets, gleamed a single object. A crystal figurine, shaped like a curled dragon, no bigger than Kale's palm. Its surface shimmered like frozen fire, every scale carved with impossible precision. The longer Kale looked, the harder it was to look away. No one else seemed to notice it. Not the shoppers, not the passing guards, not even the children darting between stalls. It was as though the figurine was meant only for him. Kale's stomach growled, his coin purse was empty, and something in that dragon whispered temptation. Not in words, but in the way its glassy body seemed alive under the sun. The merchant's head turned, eyes locking with Kale's. They were old, sharp, and heavy with warning. "Best not to touch that one, boy," he said quietly, as though he knew exactly what Kale intended. But warnings were wasted on thieves. In a heartbeat, Kale's hand darted forward, the figurine slipped into his cloak, cool against his chest, and before the merchant could rise, Kale had melted back into the chaos of the crowd. Only when he reached the shadows of an alleyway did he dare look at it again. The dragon's glass body seemed to pulse faintly in his palm, as if something inside it was breathing. And for the first time in his life, Kale felt a thrill of fear sharper than hunger.
Kale slipped through the winding alleys until the noise of the bazaar was nothing more than an echo. His hideout waited at the edge of the city, an abandoned bell tower with broken stairs and crumbling stone, a place no one bothered to climb except rats and thieves. By the time he reached the tower, the crystal figurine burned cold against his chest, as though it didn't belong in this world. He pulled it out in the fading light of dusk. The dragon shimmered faintly, each scale catching the fire of the setting sun. Up close, it looked less like carved glass and more like flesh beneath ice. Veins of light pulsed faintly through it, glowing blue, fading, glowing again. Kale frowned. "What are you?" he muttered. The figurine answered with a sound, a thin crack like ice breaking. Kale nearly dropped it. A fissure ran along the dragon's side, spilling a faint white glow. Then another crack, then another, until the entire figurine trembled in his hands. And then it moved. The crystal shell shattered, splintering into shards that melted into air before they hit the ground. Kale staggered back as the thing inside unfurled, small, fragile, but alive. A dragon. Not of flesh, nor of fire, but of living glass. Its body shimmered with translucent scales, every movement sending ripples of light across the stone walls. Its wings were thin panes, fragile-looking, yet sharp as blades. Tiny eyes of molten silver blinked at him, ancient and knowing. The creature stretched, yawned, a sound like wind through chimes, and coiled itself around Kale's arm. Its touch was freezing, yet oddly warm beneath the skin, as though it drew both heat and breath from him. Kale's heart hammered. This isn't real. The dragon tilted its head, and then with a voice like shattering glass, it spoke inside his mind. "I am yours. 3 wishes I grant, but know this, thief, Each gift will take its price. Kale stumbled back, nearly dropping the creature, but its claws anchored lightly into his sleeve. His mind spun. A living dragon. Wishes. Power. For a boy who had spent his life scraping for crumbs, the promise felt like fire in his blood. But the memory of the merchant's warning returned, sharp as a knife. Best not to touch that one, boy. And now, it was too late. The dragon coiled tighter, silver eyes unblinking, waiting for his first wish.
The dragon's silver eyes glowed faintly in the half-light of the ruined tower. Kale sat cross-legged on the cold stone floor, staring at it as if trying to wake from a dream. 3 wishes? He whispered. Anything I want? The dragon's voice chimed in his head again, sharp and delicate, like glass cracking under pressure. Anything, but you will give as you take. That is the way of balance. Kale's stomach twisted. He thought of the years of hunger, the scraps stolen from merchant carts, the cold nights with only broken rooftops for shelter. Power like this was dangerous, but also irresistible. His hand clenched. Then I wish for... His voice caught. He thought of the guards who had beaten him, the nobles who had spit on him, the merchants who laughed when he begged. No, not revenge. Not yet. He swallowed hard. I wish for food. Enough to fill me for once in my life. The dragon blinked. Its wings unfolded, scattering shards of pale light across the stones. The air grew heavy, colder. And then the sound of sacks falling. Kale's jaw dropped. Before him, piled high, were loaves of steaming bread, roasted meat, golden apples that glowed like firelight. The tower filled with the impossible smell of feasts he had only ever dreamed of. He tore into it like a starving animal, devouring bread until crumbs covered his shirt, meat until grease slicked his fingers. Tears burned his eyes. For the first time, he ate, not in desperation, but in abundance. But then his hands trembled. The bread slipped from his grasp. A strange numbness crept into his fingertips. He looked down. His left hand was turning clear. The skin melted into translucency, veins of light pulsing beneath it. Glass. No. His voice cracked. No, 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 no. The dragon perched on the pile of food, eyes unblinking, voice calm as a whisper of broken shards. Every gift has its cost. You asked, it answered. Part of you is mine now. Kale's breath came ragged, horror flooding him as he raised his hand to the dim light. It caught the glow like a window pane, fragile and beautiful, but not human anymore. The food before him no longer tasted like salvation. It tasted like chains. The dragon coiled tighter, watching him with cold, eternal patience. 2 wishes remain.
Kale wrapped his glass hand in a strip of cloth, hiding the truth beneath layers of dirt-stained fabric. Every movement sent a faint ringing through his bones, as if fragile crystal might shatter at any moment. For 2 days, he lingered in the ruined tower with the dragon, avoiding the markets and alleys where his old life had rotted. But hunger wasn't the problem anymore. The whispers were. The dragon never stopped speaking. Power, freedom, wealth, whatever you desire, I can shape it. One word and the world bends to you. Kale tried to resist. He threw rocks at the dragon, shouted at it to shut up, even stormed outside to sleep in the cold rather than hear its voice. But it always returned, not in sound, but in his mind, coiled like smoke in his skull. And then the world came looking for him. On the third morning, shouts echoed through the city streets. Guards, their boots hammered the cobblestones, their voices carrying orders. A merchant had seen him at the marketplace the day he stole the figurine. Word had spread. Kale's heart seized. He ducked into an alley, clutching the wrapped bundle that hid the dragon. But his glass hand betrayed him. In the sunlight, it flickered faintly beneath the cloth, like a shard of stained glass catching fire. "There!" a guard roared. Kale bolted. His lungs burned as he tore through winding streets, feet slapping against stone. But the city was a maze, and the guards closed in with trained precision. He stumbled into a dead-end courtyard, walls too high to climb, doors locked, windows barred. The dragon's voice slithered into him, sharp and calm. "You cannot escape unless—" "No!" Kale backed against the wall, chest heaving. I won't pay again." The first guard rounded the corner, sword drawn. Another followed, and another. Kale's heart shook as steel gleamed inches away. "Say it," the dragon urged. "Wish! Survive!" Kale's body trembled. His glass hand pulsed with light beneath the cloth, pain flaring up his arm. And then the sword thrust forward. "I wish I could fight!" Kale screamed. The world exploded in brilliance. His glass hand shattered, not into pieces, but into a weapon. Jagged shards burst outward, spinning into the air like a living storm. They formed blades, spears, a crown of glittering edges that danced around him. The guards froze, eyes wide with horror. Kale raised his arm. The shards obeyed. With a flick of thought, the crystal storm slashed forward. Metal screeched. The first guard fell, his blade broken in two. The others staggered back, blood dripping from shallow cuts across their armor. Kale's eyes widened in shock. Power, real power. He could feel it. The dragon's gift surging through his veins. The glass obeying his will like it was part of him. But then he staggered. His other arm, the one still flesh, burned with pain. He looked down in terror. The skin was cracking. Lines of translucent glass spread from his shoulder down to his elbow, crawling across him like veins of frost. The dragon's voice was quiet, almost tender. "Now you see, strength has a price. But tell me, thief, wasn't it worth it?" Kale fell to his knees, surrounded by shards that shimmered in the dying light. The guards fled in fear, their screams echoing through the city. He had won. He had survived. But at what cost? 2 wishes made, 1 remains.
Kale didn't sleep, couldn't. Every time his eyes closed, he felt the glass creeping further across his flesh, hardening veins, stiffening muscle, freezing him from the inside out. 2 wishes, 2 prices. His hand gone, now his arm. Soon the dragon would make him a statue. The creature slithered beside him, wings whispering like wind over glass. Its crystalline body caught the moonlight, refracting it into cruel rainbows across the walls. "1 wish remains," it purred. "Choose wisely, little thief. A kingdom? Immortality? The girl you love brought back? Everything is possible, for the right price." Kale laughed bitterly. "And when I'm all glass, when there's nothing left of me?" The dragon tilted its jeweled head. "Then you will be beautiful,
eternal, a monument to desire. Kale's stomach twisted. He thought of the guards fleeing in terror, of the shimmer spreading across his arm, of the marketplace where this all began. All his life he had stolen scraps just to survive, and now, when he had power enough to change everything, it was killing him. But thieves lived by one rule: never play the game straight. So he played crooked. Kale rose, clutching his arm as pain shot through him. He met the dragon's glassy eyes and forced a smirk. Fine, I'll make my last wish. The dragon leaned forward, eager, expectant. Kale's voice dropped to a whisper. I wish for you to be free. The dragon froze. Its body rippled with light, cracks racing along its crystalline wings. What? You heard me, Kale said, steady now. You've been bound to grant wishes, haven't you? Chained to bargains, feeding on pieces of people until nothing's left. I wish you out of it. I wish you unbound. The dragon's voice fractured, panicked and furious. No, foolish boy! You don't understand! Light burst from its chest. The figurine's heart cracked wide open, spilling pure radiance that flooded the tower. The walls shook, the air split with sound like breaking glass. Kale shielded his eyes as the dragon screamed, not in pain, but in release. Its body shattered into 1,000 shards, then reformed, each piece glowing brighter, smoother, softer, until the creature no longer looked like jagged crystal, but a flowing being of light. It hovered before him, no longer sharp and cruel, but vast and infinite. You tricked me, it whispered, voice both furious and awed. Kale managed a weak grin. I'm a thief. It's what I do. The dragon hovered in silence. Then slowly it bowed its radiant head. Your bargain is ended. No more wishes, no more chains. The price you paid remains, but no further debt will be claimed. And with that, it dissolved, a storm of light rising into the night sky until it vanished among the stars. Kale sank to his knees, clutching his half-glass arm. It still glimmered, fragile and cold, a reminder of the price he had paid. But the creeping frost had stopped. The transformation had ended. He was broken, scarred, half-human, half-glass, but he was free. For the first time in his life, Chaos smiled without hunger or fear. He looked up at the stars, one of them still shimmering brighter than the rest, and whispered, Good riddance.